Hello and welcome to this episode of CATCHJSBUFORD, focused on storytelling, and maybe not the type of storytelling that you're accustomed to hearing where individuals talk about marketing and building their businesses, but actually the story that's taking place in between your ears, right? My business mentors have always taught me that the most important story you'll ever hear in life is the story you tell yourself about yourself. And look, here's the thing, at this point in your entrepreneurial journey, if you've discovered your passion or your why, I applaud you. Most people just aren't willing to take that step. And it makes them susceptible to emotional and psychological fatigue. They become shiftless and they find themselves chasing opportunities here, there, everywhere, as opposed to focusing on the reasons why they went into business in the first place. The axiom, if you take aim at two ducks, both will escape, is no truer than it is in entrepreneurship. So if you've done so, that's great. But look, here's the thing, the journey still isn't over. It's just beginning. If your why is the destination, or your North Star, so to speak, right? Then understand that you still need a rudder to keep you focused, right? Experts estimate that the mind thinks about 50,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. If you break that math down even further, that's 2,100 to 3,300 thoughts per hour. Pretty incredible, right? And these are the thoughts that are forming the narratives in our minds. They're telling stories, good and positive narratives alike. And the most important narratives are the ones that are shaping your self-concept. Because at the end of the day, your self-concept is the thing that ultimately determines what you're taking aim at and the extent to which you believe you can achieve. Your reflexive responses to the environment around you and what you expect how you expect people to behave and respond to you has a lot to do with your self-concept. I think about concept, I think about the Matrix, right? And anyone who's watched the Matrix, Neo was looking like spam in the very beginning, right? But after experiencing some things, look, the belief and the growth is in the doing, right? After doing some things, he was looking like, he was 100, right? He was on 10 about his life, calm, collected, superhero status, right? In much the same way, your concept shapes you. I've heard it said that, once again, the most important story that you'll ever hear in life is a story that you tell yourself about yourself. Look, belief is a muscle. Positive affirmation, mindfulness activities, chronicling small victories. These things are like creatine, right? They're tantamount to a healthy diet to your belief muscles that your muscles need to continue to grow. They help corral and focus all the thoughts in the direction that you ultimately desire to go. Remember, we're all susceptible to disappointments, negative news, negative people. Bad things happen to good people all the time. Loss, heartache, lust, and distractions. Let's be real, right? It is what it is. Social media tirades, things that are going on, like what happened recently with Monique or Steve Harvey or whoever, right? Chris Brown, doesn't matter. Other people's problems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these things are vying for our attention 24/7 around the clock, right? Whether it be television advertisements, news stations, and hosts talking about whatever gossip, social media apps. Look, all these things, all these advertisements, all these mediums have been created by really sharp, smart people who've gone to school to understand how our minds are engineered and figure out how to keep and capture our attention. And if you're not purposely doing something to combat these influences, you might as well stick a fork in your entrepreneurship dreams and ambitions. Just got to be straightforward with you, right? Look, we're programmed for fear. We're programmed to observe and move away from obstacles. Things that are different or not normal, they appear dangerous to us, right? We fear the unknown. And look, this was a useful mindset, right? This was a useful orientation centuries ago when we were running from predators. They were much bigger than us, right? And dealing with the elements. It allowed us to survive, right? And those survival instincts have been honed after centuries and centuries and centuries. They're operating on autopilot in our minds all the time. We're on autopilot most of the time. If we weren't, we'd be overwhelmed by the thousands of thoughts and stimuli and things that are going around us minute by minute. It's our brain's way of saying, look, I only need to pay attention to a couple simple things in order for us to function, right? That's why when you drive somewhere, or if you've done this before, right, you'll be driving, 15 minutes will go by, you arrive at your destination, and sometimes you can't even remember how you got there. That's autopilot going to work on your behalf, right? That's exactly what transpired. You didn't have to even be cognizant of the driving. You didn't have to be cognizant of when to make the turn, to stop at the stop sign or the red light. You're on autopilot. And that is in large part is what's determining what we see. It determines what we don't see as well, right? It's the primal circuitry operating in our minds in the background. And all of this is very bad for the entrepreneurial spirit and mind, right? It was great for survival, but it's bad for entrepreneurship because we know success and growth is not found in your comfort zone. It's not found in normality, right? We know that thinking negatively blunts creativity and limits our field of vision. Look, ask people around you, right? If you were to turn around and start asking people randomly, what are you doing? How are you feeling? Most people begin to articulate their problems. They begin to articulate their hurts and their pains. They start talking about how they're not feeling too great. This is most people. Rather than illustrating or talking about the good things, the bright spots or solutions that they're excited about, it's the exact opposite, right? Look, it's the natural tendency for us to go negative. And be around them long enough and you start communicating how excited you are about your business, how you're on 10 about your life, they start looking at you like you're an alien, right? You start behaving like you're on 10 about everything that's going on, or looking at you like you're crazy, like you must be fronting, right? You must be faking it, right? They don't understand fake it till you make it. And that's why it's so important to be mindful about what you're thinking about. And when you whether it's when you lay your head down at night or when you're waking up in the morning, with all the BS.com that is waiting for you, waiting to influence you and engage the worst tendencies, right, of our brain circuitry, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing systemically to counteract and control the thoughts that are reverberating through your mind? You know, how much time are you spending reviewing positive affirmations about yourself, right? You know, for the sake of, this episode, look, a couple things that I say to myself on a regular basis. I say, look, I'm an excellent provider, right? I'm a parent, I'm a father, that's important to me. One of my affirmations is I'm a very well-fed writer, right? I enjoy writing, I enjoy reading, I enjoy learning. Another affirmation I have is I'm a highly intelligent investor. I'm a gifted leader, right? These are the things that I say to myself. What are your affirmations, right? My affirmations have to be yours. What are the things that matter most to you? Do you have a vision statement that outlines what your best life looks like, right? What you could be absent the excuses, what you believe you could be. If all the obstacles were removed, right? All the reasons and excuses we come up with for not pursuing our best selves, right? What would you really be doing with your time? Who would you be spending your time with, right? Ultimately, you will become, and you are becoming, what you believe yourself to be inside and what your dominating thoughts are inside of you. That's why this is so important. And for some of us, that's scary. I mean, look and listen to Twitter. Look at what's going on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, news headlines, radio talk show hosts, chatter, so on and so forth, right? Think about this stuff. It's dominating people's lives because people spend an inordinate amount of time listening to these things. It's scary, for real. Take a moment, turn off the television set. Right? Not turn off the television set, but turn down the volume. Turn off the volume on the television set, or turn off the volume on that Facebook feed and look at the stuff that's being broadcasted across there. It's incredible. Now, think about it like this. We all know that guy or girl, right? We all have one in the family or one in our network that they're always ready. They can't wait for something bad to happen, right? So they have an excuse to unleash all the turmoil, all the tempest of dispraise that's sitting inside of them, right? And don't they find what they're looking for most of the time? That's the impact, right, of mindfulness or not being mindful. Here's a suggestion. And this is assuming that you've taken the time to craft your why, right? You've achieved clarity about the person you want to become. You've begun to take pen and paper and craft an incredible vision for your best self. And your affirmations are available right at your fingertips, right? And look, if you haven't completed these exercises yet, it's okay. They'll never be 100% completed, right? So I know some people who say it's time consuming and they never feel like they're done and they never can get it accomplished. It's a process because you're a process. You're growing, right? The most important thing is you just get started with this process. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is this, just a suggestion. Write down the top 10 highest impacts or tasks. Whereas if you achieve them over the course of today or a week, whichever one is easiest for you, the top 10 they would make the biggest difference in your life. Now notice something. I didn't say write down the top 10 things that you feel like you can achieve. I said write down the top 10 things that if you did achieve them, they would make the biggest difference in your life. Because let's be real, if you're suffering from a lack of confidence or belief, you're more than likely to have a hard time summoning the creativity to draft a game-changing list, right? So write down the things that, if they were to happen, will make the biggest change in your life. Now, once you drafted this list, check off the top 3 items, right? Check off the top 3 items and begin chipping away right now at those top 3 items, right? Reverse engineer them, one small step at a time. Look, snowflakes turn into snowballs. Write down 3 steps that you can take within the next 24 or 48 hours just to get the ball moving. Belief and confidence is found in the doing, right? And keep this list, this high impact list, accessible at all times, right? In the bathroom, on your desk, on your computer screen, in the mirror, on your phone, written down in index cards, in your pocketbook, wallet or purse, whatever the case may be. In other words, if your life depended on it, and somebody approached you and said, where's your affirmations? Where's your vision? Right? Where's your top 3 at? The top 3 things that make the biggest impact in your life this year. The top 3 things that make the biggest impact over the next 3 months or the next month or the next week, right? If your life depended on it, you could produce them within the next 5 seconds, right? And I want you to look at this list every hour on the hour. Some people say every hour on the hour, that's a lot. Well, look at it with the same frequency you look at your phone. And that's probably every hour on the hour, let's be real. Remember, you're competing against the 50,000 to 80,000 thoughts that are rolling through your mind. The 21, that's per day. The 2,100 to 3,000 plus thoughts that are rolling through your mind per hour. That's why you need to do this reset. You're hitting the reset button on your life. You're making sure that you're in control over the stories and the thoughts are reverberating through your brain, right? Because if you don't have an agenda for yourself, the world is creating one for you. You might not like the end result, right? So you're hitting the reset button to combat the gravity. That's negative people and negative influences and negative things. You're hitting the reset button on the whirlwind. What's the whirlwind? The stuff that life throws at you, right? The things that we can't control. But all these things are competing to determine your thoughts and thus the story that you're telling yourself about yourself. Look, I'm going to be real with you, right? I'm not one of these. I'm not a business consultant. I'm not a personal development guru or any of those things. I'm just simply an entrepreneur that loves to learn, loves to do things, and I simply share what I do and what it is that I learn, right? And so I'm not here to tell you how easy and simple this is going to be. It's not. Right? It's going to be inconvenient at first. It's not going to be comfortable. Guess what? It's not supposed to. When you're working out, when you're building muscle, you're actually tearing your muscles, right? It's not going to be comfortable. It's supposed to hurt a little bit, right? Positive thinking is a muscle. Focus is a muscle. Committing, doing things that are inconvenient and uncomfortable, that's a muscle. Belief is a muscle, right? This is skilled trade, which means you have to take some time to learn to do it. So develop the muscles to achieve your best life. You know, these are just a couple suggestions to get you started. If this content resonated with you, look, please do hit the like button, hit the share button, offer commentary. Look, all feedback, good, bad, and indifferent is welcome here. At the end of the day, I'm all about sharpening the saw so I can bring more value to listeners. And look, stay tuned for additional episodes. Visit the growing Facebook community we have going on here at www.facebook.com/CATCHJSBUFORD/ Make suggestions, offer insights, make requests for content that you would like to see, whether it be more technical or something that's a little bit more laid back, right? And share your success stories. And as always, entrepreneurship is empowerment.